considering Comer has got hemp passed, got CBD passed. Legalizing marijuana is definitely an issue in Kentucky. It is being discussed very seriously, even though none of the major Republican candidates nor one of the Democratic candidates have came out in favor of it. So we're going to do an update right now and seeing how the other states are doing, and then we're going to be talking about Frankfurt. So California, right now in America, you got Alaska, Colorado, Washington, Oregon, and Washington, D.C. that has full-blown legalization of marijuana. Again, Alaska, Colorado, Washington, Oregon, all out in the west, right? Just right there in the corner, Washington and Oregon, those two states next to each other, and then Colorado is kind of off to itself, and then Alaska, way all the way up there, right? Sarah Palin's Alaska. That's why Sarah Palin was for, legalization, and that's also Mike Gravel. Mike Gravel comes out of Alaska. And around the world, actually, this is remarkable because around the world, you only have a few countries. You got the Netherlands, you got Uruguay, and you got North Korea and Bangladesh. But North Korea, you're allowed to smoke marijuana. The worst, fastest dictatorship in the entire world is more tolerant than Jack Conway. Jack Conway is to the right of Kim Jong-il. So, that's ridiculous because if Jack gets Kentucky's governorship, then you could say goodbye America, hello North Korea, hello totalitarian fascism. And that's absolute bullshit. We're supposed to be a free country, and instead of being free, we're going backwards 20 years. So that's what we got right now. There's Alaska, Colorado, Oregon, Washington State, and then D.C., the District of Columbia, which isn't a state, but it is like the most important real estate in the entire country since it houses the capital of the United States. So they said that's 18 million people. By the time they quit counting the votes on election day, that number is likely to triple and then some. So where's it going to happen? Here's where. So there's initiatives. The fight for freedom carries on. And so where are the states that's going to legalize it coming up? There's several states that's on the verge of actually legalizing it right now. California, Nevada, not Arizona, Maine, Massachusetts, Missouri, and I think another one. But let's take a look at each one of them because we have something to learn from each one of these states and where their process is. California, right? California is supposed to be the biggest, liberal bastion, San Francisco, Hollywood elite, the one that leads the country when it comes to progress and moving forward. They had legalized medical marijuana for quite some time, and then they tried to get full-blown legalization with Proposition 19 in 2010, but only got 46% of the vote. But they're going to be different because it's they have initiatives. They got main initiatives, committees that's getting these initiatives written up and put on the ballot right now. With 38 million people, California is the big prize. It's also an expensive place to run an initiative, with the cost of getting on the ballot alone at around $1 million. So $1 million is what it takes, right? And it'll take several million more to pay for advertising in the final key weeks of the campaign. But the money is lining up. It'll take fewer signatures to qualify for the ballot thanks to the dismal turnout in last year's midterms. And once it qualifies, it will have momentum from, by then, 4 years of legalization in Colorado and Washington, 2 years of it in Alaska and Oregon. California will go green in 2016. So that's almost just going to happen. I don't even know why they got to spend millions of dollars on it. Just get it on the ballot. It'll go green. 2016, it's been, quite some time. They've taken too long. Uruguay legalized it, and now the government sells an ounce for $5. They sell an ounce for $5 to undercut the dealers and then to make revenue themselves. So this puts the dealers out of business. You don't have to, throw people's lives and ruin people's lives in jail when you come across it because the government is actually selling it. They make money off of it because they know that it's not a big deal. It's not going to do anything bad. If anything, you'll eat too many chips. You'll fall asleep on the couch. During the day, you'll have a siesta. It's not like alcohol. Alcohol makes you crazy, makes you into a different person. Marijuana isn't even like that. It's not even close. So then we got Nevada. Nevada is going to legalize it too. So Nevada, California, these states are well on their way to legalizing it. Under Nevada law, the legislator now has a chance to approve the initiative. So right now they got initiatives to, for it to pass for the voters. That's what initiatives and referendums are. This is the legislature puts the issue up and then the voters vote on it. Or the people, citizens can get enough signatures to put an issue on the ballot, then the people vote for it. And that's better, frankly, when it comes to democracy. I would rather vote on a bunch of issues because then you know exactly where I stand, on marijuana issue, on casinos, on abortion, on gay marriage, wherever it is. Kentucky had a gay marriage amendment in 2004, but most of the time we don't get any initiatives to vote for whatsoever. None at all. If everybody in the state of Kentucky actually signed a petition, they would not get that on the ballot. The only way you can get an initiative on the ballot in the state of Kentucky is through the legislature. You have to get one of your legislators to offer it, and then it gets voted on it, by the houses, and then once the house is passed, then it'll go to the people to vote, like the casinos, right? You got James Comer, who was sitting there saying, actually, they're all in favor of casinos, but they're in favor of putting it on the ballot and letting the people vote for it. But they've been talking about that shit for 8 fucking years. Brashear actually walked in with a mandate to legalize casinos, and that never came to pass. But right now, the legislature, they can put this in through the legislature. The House and the Senate can pass it in Frankfurt, and then once they pass it, it can be put onto a vote. They could just pass it outright. The legislature could just say, yeah, we got casinos now. But because it's been such a contentious issue, they would rather put it on the ballot so that way the people vote for it. When the people vote for it, nobody can argue it, right? The people want it, so what can you do? You can't go against the people. So once the people vote on something, it just becomes law. That's just the law, right? You cannot fuck with what the people want. Under Nevada law, the legislator has a chance to approve the initiative. So that's what we're looking at right now. In Ohio, I was working on the factory farms legislation, and they did a drive to get a bunch of people to sign a petition in order to put the end of abuse on factory farms as an initiative on the ballot. But before we was able to put that on the ballot, they went ahead and passed a compromise bill in the legislature because they didn't want to battle in 2000 and whatever the election day. The election year. It was an election year. They didn't want to battle with it because it would have been bad publicity. So instead of actually having an initiative put on the ballot, the legislature actually jumped in front of the initiative and they passed it before it got, before it got dirty. And so the legislature here in Nevada has the same choice to do so. So if the initiative is up on the ballot, Nevada legislature could just say, fuck it, let's just legalize this damn thing and just get it, let's just get this thing down. Get this thing started instead of kicking, the proverbial can down the road. Instead of just kicking the can down the road, why don't we actually pick the can up and, take it to the recycling plants or something, actually do something with the can. So Nevada, it approved medical marijuana in 1998, 59%, and again in 2000, 65%, but voted down decriminalization in 2002 and legalization in 2006. It has since then effectively decriminalized possession of less than 1 ounce, and it's now been a decade since the last legalization initiative lost at the polls. Either marijuana will be legal by Election Day 2016 thanks to the legislature, or the voters will decide the question themselves at the polls. Now, Arizona, this is out of this whole list of the 7 states that are next in line, they actually seem to be the farthest behind. So the initiative language, they got a committee, a ballot committee form, but they don't have anything else. So they don't have any legislatures ready to offer the bill, and they don't have any initiative themselves actually, the paperwork filed yet. So all they got is a committee. That's a good start. Having a committee means that, perhaps they'll move forward on this thing. But if they don't move forward on it, then we won't see Arizona. Arizona right now, any amount of pot is still a felony. And fuck Arizona. I got a personal fucking bias against Arizona. They killed Ronnie Lee Smith. They killed Ronnie Lee Smith. They said that's a felony for any, for any amount of marijuana, unless you're a medical marijuana card carrier, But anyways, they fucking killed my friend. So fuck Arizona. For Arizona. They also got that racist fucking law, right? Fucking where your papers at. They just shooting Mexicans on the border just to have fun and shit. It's fucked up state, man. So Maine, the marijuana policy project has been laying the groundwork for a statewide legalization initiative in 2016 with local initiative campaigns in some of the state's largest cities in 2014 and 2013, and is working on final initiative language now. But it is also seeing competition from a state-based group, Legalized Maine. So now you got two committees in the same state that's competing with each other. So it looks like Maine is going to, when you got two committees to put initiative on the ballot, that's a good indication that they're going to get it legalized, come 2016. Now this is 2000. They're talking about 2016. They're not even talking about this year. They're talking about next year during the presidential election when there's a higher turnout. Right now, 2015, we actually only have 3 governor's races. It's really a boring year for politics, but it's going to be really exciting for Kentucky and for Louisiana and Mississippi. Mississippi, basically, they're all Republicans there, a bunch of racist, backwards-ass fucking dickholes. So they're going to get their racist, Republican right back in there. But Louisiana is turning out to be more like us. Look, they got all these different candidates, right? They have lots of Democrats, lots of Republicans. They're going to see a debate. They're going to see vibrant discussions in Louisiana. In Mississippi, you ain't going to see any fucking discussions whatsoever, right? They're basically like, nah, Phil Bryant is the man. We're always going to kiss Phil Bryant's ass. Never are we going to choose anybody else because we got the Confederate flag on our state flag and we're backwards and we're like the worst state in the union. So fuck us. We're dumb and stupid and backwards. So they love their fascist totalitarianism. There is no hope of Mississippi going pro legalization of marijuana. Mississippi will stay 50 years back from the rest of the nation just out of spite, just out of principle, right? Mississippi is like, nah, we're fucking backwards and dumb, and we're going to stay backwards and dumb forever. Now, Louisiana is doing way better than that. And so we're doing better than that, but Louisiana is doing way better than that because they got 3 Democrats, 3 Republicans. They're going to have an interesting, vibrant discussion about the issues. We got 4 Republicans and 2 Democrats. And the Republicans are looking like they're going to have a good conversation, but the Democrats are seeming like they're playing elitist type games, and they're not going to hold any type of Lincoln Douglas debates or anything. So that's 2015. That's what we're looking at for 2015, right? So the Louisiana, I bet you the legalization of marijuana will come up in the campaign, and it will definitely come up in the campaign for Kentucky. Now with Mississippi, basically whatever the fuck Phil Bryant decides, if he likes marijuana, it'll get legalized. If he doesn't like it, it won't, because they're run by a fascist totalitarian. That's Kim Jung-il. Well, Phil Bryant is worse than Kim Jong-il. North Korea has legalized marijuana. No fucking joke, man. Check it out. North Korea has legalized marijuana. If you're in North Korea, you can smoke one right on the streets and nobody says a fucking word about it. So the axis of evil, the worst dictator in the world. Well, guess what? The prohibition in America on marijuana is stronger than it is in North Korea. So, compare that, put that in your fucking pipe and smoke it. Take a bite of that apple and chew it. How's that taste? You like that? You like them apples? So let's keep talking about where the states are. So California is on the verge of legalizing marijuana. Nevada is on the verge of legalizing marijuana. Arizona, they got a pot committee, but it doesn't seem like they're a sure thing. And then we got Maine, which has 2 different ballot committees that are trying to get it legalized. So they're on their way. And then meanwhile, State Rep Diane Russell has filed a legalization bill in the legislature. So you also got a bill sitting in the legislature. Maine is one of the states where the looming presence of legalization initiatives could actually move the legislature to act preemptively to craft a legalization scheme to its liking. So again, we see that when the initiative is on the ballot, that forces the legislature to do what they should have done anyways. The people are going to vote for it, so why don't you just get to legislating and do what you're supposed to do, lawmakers? The people are going to vote for it. Why kick the can down the road when you could just, pass a legalization, the language of a legalization bill right now? And then you'll be, like right now, Colorado, Washington, Alaska. Look how much we're talking about these states. D.C., Oregon. These 4 states are on the national limelight, so people are paying attention to every single thing that they're doing. And since they're in the national limelight, we haven't seen the state collapse. We haven't seen anything go down. In fact, we've seen lower crime rates, and we're hearing about them being sold out. They eventually sell out of all their weed, right? Oregon ran out of marijuana. Colorado ran out of marijuana. I've heard the stores are running out. It's so popular there. And so, we haven't seen the whole state collapse. So for anarchy to be on the streets and all this other bullshit, it's not happening. So Uruguay is basically leading the world in legalization efforts because they are selling $5 an ounce. $5 an ounce of marijuana in Uruguay. And North Korea is shaming America. America is supposed to be the freest and greatest country in the world. But the axis of evil, this horrible dictator, totalitarian, fascist nation of North Korea is more liberal in its policies towards marijuana than the United States of America. So, Jack Conway gets Kentucky. Goodbye, America. Hello, North Korea. North Korea is coming to Kentucky if we don't get it legalized. So don't sit there and think, well, no, it's not time for us to do it yet. Because if you say no to it, then that just means the increase of the police state, the increase of the war on drugs, the private prison industry, and a police state. Is that what you want? I mean, you want to sit there and be an asshole and just say, fuck people, who think that smoking pot will be good for their cancer, which it is, and their glaucoma, and a whole host of other medical needs. Fuck all those people in exchange for Nazi Germany. Is that what the fuck you want? You want Nazi Germany? Or do you want hippie, fucking Netherlands, the fucking Amsterdam, a fucking Colorado type place, right? If there's a choice between a hippie wonderland, a hippie free land, and a police state, who the fuck would choose a police state? What kind of an asshole would be like, nah, I'd rather have a boot on the face of humanity for the rest of our lives? An evil motherfucker. An evil motherfucker would rather have that than, full-blown legalization. Do you want freedom or do you want fascism? That's a simple fucking debate, I would think. Do you want freedom or do you want fascism? Which one do you want, Kentucky? You get to make a decision. There's one candidate that's running for governor that is for legalization. Check it out. You find out who it is. Okay? That's some homework for you. Pay attention to your elected leaders. We have, in the House, right? There's 100 people in Kentucky's legislature. Well, who are these assholes? Rocky Atkins, he's at the top because he's got an A name. Well, let's go towards the bottom. Let's see. Jim Desars, Cesar. Who are these people? Mike Deanham, Bob DeWeese, Joseph Fisher. These are the people that represent us. Who are these people? Dennis Horlander, James K. Dennis King. Let's see. My guy is Shamor. Is Shamor in here? Have they updated this? Because they hadn't updated this for a while. Okay. They got Dean Shamor, John Short, Jonathan Shell, Arnold Simpson. Who the fuck are these assholes? Nobody knows. There's 100 people in the legislature that's supposed to be representing us. Are they passing any bills? Do they have a constitutional convention? Are they going to legalize marijuana? Are they going to legalize casinos? They've been talking about that shit for 8 years. I'll tell you what's going to happen. Here's my prediction with the Kentucky legislature because they're meeting right now. And this is the only thing that they passed so far. Adjourn the first part of the 2015 regular session on January 9th. And then convene the second part on February 3rd. They're only going to meet for 30 days. This is a summer camp. This is a summer camp for 30 days, right? So they have, 11 months out of the year to craft whatever legislation they want to craft, to get all their ducks in a row, to get prepared, to actually have an aggressive, to get into Frankfurt, tell people this is what we're going to pass, knock some heads together, and then get some shit done, get some shit passed. My prediction is that they will talk about all these other issues, until they're blue in the face. They might get 3 laws passed, and then it'll be a mad dash to get the budget passed. Oh shit, we haven't passed the budget yet. Well, we got to do this, we got to do that, and a lot of late night type of things, and then they do a mad dash, mad rush in the last few days to get a budget passed. So only 3 laws are going to get passed. They're going to barely pass a budget, and then they're going to go home thinking that they've done something good for Kentucky. They'll go home and be like, well, we passed that domestic violence bill, so, that's something, right? We passed that, you got to blow into a machine if you get a DUI, right? That's something. We passed the seatbelt law, so that's something. So, as long as they pass something, they could go back and brag to their constituents. And so that's all they give a shit about, right? Just having bragging rights. It's not actually about governing and doing a good job. It's only about bragging rights. They pass a few laws so they can go back to their constituents and say, hey, we did this thing, and then they'll get reelected. And they get reelected time and time again. They don't get paid that much, but $15,000 a year just for 1 month of working, that sounds like a pretty good deal to me. I mean, and then you don't even get arrested, right? While you're in Congress, while you're in convening in Frankfurt, it doesn't matter what happens. You will be not held accountable to anything you do as long as it's not a felony. So as long as it's not a felony, you're allowed to get into DUIs. You're allowed to, break some laws, and that's okay. We saw that case actually with somebody else. So this is the only thing that they can agree on is giving themselves a break. Well, we've been here for a week, so let's who has a motion to adjourn? You do? All right, let's get the fuck out of here. Right, we've been here for a whole week. I'm tired. Shit. Let's pass this until February 3rd. So for right now, they're just sitting on their asses. They ain't doing shit. They're not helping anybody, right? But hopefully they're grouping together and they're going to come back with a vengeance and get 20 bills passed, get a budget passed, plenty on time, right? Everybody's happy. Everybody got a little bit of something. There's working. There's compromise, and something is moved along. Doubtful. My guess is what I just told you. Is nothing. Nothing will happen. They'll pass 3 fucking laws, and then they'll wait to the end to get the budget passed. So, and then we got the senators, right? We got 38 senators, and we got 100 representatives. Who are these people? You mean Perry Clark is the only guy I know about because he filed medical marijuana bill. But we already got some type of medical marijuana bill. It's time to just go full-fledged. Like Carol Gibson, that's my guy. But I've never seen him. He covers 6 different counties. He doesn't care about me. Wendell Ford just died recently. I barely heard about this guy. How can these people get away with not actually talking to any of us? I mean, Dan Milano, Siem, Robin Webb, Whitney Westerfield. Who the fuck are you people? Who are these people? And then how come there's not a vibrant discussion? These are our representatives, right? These are the people that represent you and I. But do they really? They get in there with 10% of the vote. They, they spend a little bit of money on their campaign. They trick the people to vote for them. The few people that do vote for them. Is that really who represents us? I don't know. I think if you had an honest person in Frankfurt, you would see things to go a little bit smoother. Because, what the fuck? What are you all doing? What do you all keep on? It's a summer camp that y'all meet for 30 days, and you can only pass 3 laws? Only 3 laws? I'm tired of the whole fucking thing, the whole document. Scrap the whole document and get a constitutional convention in there. It's been gutted. It's been revised. It's been amended so time we don't actually have one single document that governs all Kentuckians. It's private pocket tyrannies. It varies from location to location. So, okay, let's carry on. Massachusetts. Maine, it's got, there's a legalization bill. And they also have the initiatives that are coming up. So they got the citizen-run initiatives, and they got a referendum, or the legislature could just outright pass it. So a referendum is legislature-initiated, an initiative is people-initiated, and then a law is just a law, right? So if the legislature just passes a law, you don't have to fuck with any of this type of stuff. If Frankfurt was doing what we wanted to do, what we wanted them to do, they would have already passed a law for casinos. But they don't do that. But if you are part of the horse racing industry, you give Kentucky lawmaker about $100, you own him, you'll get him to vote the way you want to vote. And we still got a bunch of lobbyists. It's not as bad as I thought it would be, and they have to register too, so it's all public. And that seems to make it more honest when they make it public like that, but still, So I'm going to finish up with the rest of the states, and then I'll get back to the rest of this. But Massachusetts is up on deck. The state has seen successful decriminalization of medical marijuana initiatives in 2008 and 2012, respectively. In both cases, initiatives were approved with 63% of the vote. And again, as in Maine, the Marijuana Policy Project has organized an initiative, but local activists with similar complaints to those in Maine are threatening to run their own initiative, organized as state-based state repeal, which includes some veteran Massachusetts activists. The group says it wants the least restrictive legalization law possible. Whether the two efforts can reach a common understanding remains to be seen. So again, we got different groups that are actually battling it out. In Kentucky, they passed CBD medical marijuana bill, but it was passed so that way full-blown legalization wouldn't happen. They could say, well, hemp is legal, medical marijuana is legal, that's enough. But CBD is a very small amount of medical marijuana, people. It only cures a very small amount. Whole plant medicine is the best. But even if you don't do whole plant, there's a whole bunch of medical marijuana. They have a medical marijuana bill right now. So if the medical marijuana bill last year was to cover all the medical all the medical ailments that marijuana can cure, then how come we got a medical marijuana that's sitting in the legislature today? And so we have one that's sitting there today that would actually advance it. So it's a little bit of medical marijuana. They want to make it more medical marijuana, but fuck it. Why don't we just fucking legalize this shit? It's the number one cash crop. It's where the direction of the country is going, the nation. You know that it's fucking bullshit. You know you're a damn hypocrite. You know it's not a Schedule II narcotic. You know that it's not even bad as alcohol. And yet you still maintain your backwards fucking notions on this shit. Kentucky is the poorest state in the union. It would go from, one of the poorest and brownest states to one of the richest and greenest states. And Kentucky needs to go green. We need to make Kentucky greener. I like the green grass and the green shrubs and the green trees, but I want to see the grass and the shrubs and the trees all get greener. And we can make it greener. We can do this, So, the states also successfully decriminalized medical marijuana initiatives. This is just more about Massachusetts. It seems like they filed a legalization bill. So, they're doing things in the legislature. They're doing things outside of it. Maine is looking good. Vermont is looking good too. They said this is one to watch, right? That's what they said. They already got a study done where freeing the weed would bring the state $20 to $70 million in annual pot tax revenues. So Vermont is looking to make a shit ton of money. Missouri, there's a dark horse in the heartland. The Missouri activist group Show Me Cannabis has been running an impressive educational campaign about marijuana legalization for the past few years. The group tried to get an initiative on the ballot last year but came up short. They've already filed paperwork for 2016 for a constitutional amendment to make it legal to grow, sell, and use marijuana for people 21 and over. That's amazing. Legal to grow, legal to sell, legal to use for people who's 21 and over. That doesn't hurt the kids, right? Jack Conway, it was all about the kids. It's all about the kids. Fuck off, Jack. You're living in an ancient time. This is 2015. Time to wake up. People can pretend to be old school, but they text messaging, right? They got smartphones. They using the internet. You ain't fucking old school if you're text messaging. You ain't old school if you're using the internet. It's a postmodern generation. The future is here. Why don't we just embrace the future for once? Come on, Kentucky. We can do this. We can do it. So they've already filed the paperwork. So they already got the paperwork is already filed. So that is a step in front of Arizona, which just has a committee. But they've got a committee, Missouri does, and they've already filed the paperwork. So look for good things in Vermont, in Missouri, Massachusetts, Maine, Nevada, and California. Arizona, I don't know about Arizona, but all these states are looking to legalize it. And then once you got a dozen states that have legalized it, that'll just make the other states and all, and the rest of the country just look stupid as fuck. So once you've already had, you already got 4 states, Oregon, Alaska, Colorado, and Washington have full-blown legalization of marijuana. And the sky hasn't it hasn't fell. Their heads haven't exploded. Walls haven't come tumbling down. There hasn't been a big, it wasn't like I-75 would just collapse. The whole system didn't just collapse. In fact, they had a plan in place. The plan was, put into action once they said January 1st is going to be legal. And then once that plan was put into place, it worked like clockwork. It did very well. People were very respectful and good. Look at the industry. Look at the money that they're going to bring in. And people can smoke pot if they want to smoke some pot. Marijuana is our ascent. Alcohol is our descent. So, some of these counties in Kentucky are still dry. They are not allowed to drink alcohol, and in some respects, I commend them for that, because that's a bad fucking drug. It's like one of the worst drugs out there. You get a drink of beer, you drink some whiskey, that makes you out of your fucking mind. It makes you crazy. But how hypocritical, what a hypocritical society to say that beer is acceptable, but marijuana is not. And it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. It was the #1 issue on change.org. It's what separates the youth from the old. And inevitably, we see that history always progresses, right? Black people got the right to vote. Women got the right to vote. 4 states are legalized. The Vermont legalized gay marriage. We see where history is going. So let's just make gay marriage illegal. Let's legalize marijuana. And let's just all be happy. Right? Let's just all lay back and just be happy. There's also something, gay sex. It produces less need for abortions. So you can suck cock for Jesus. That was a meme that I came across. I thought it was hilarious. Suck cock for Jesus, right? There's no abortions, right? There's no abortions. You're not afraid of any abortion for doing that. So that's a joke. I was just kidding. And I'm going to come back with some more of the news, Kentucky news. And, there's something about the jailers, and then there's something about some other things. But anyways, so I'm going to come back and talk more about Kentucky issues. So, yeah, legalize it, Kentucky.